My next guest is the Executive Director of Speech First, Cherise Trump. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can we bring up that Harvard video one more time? I was saying in my argument segment that intersectionality and communist chic, right? If you remember the Che Guevara shirt wearing kids and the, wow, Professor so-and-so opened my eyes, man. Now this is turned into outright anti-Semitism. Take a look at this from Harvard. Okay, so some of these universities are seemingly walking back some of their pro-Hamas statements, but this, no. You don't get to walk it. You encouraged this on campus. You did this on the left.
Yes, the universities completely shirked their responsibilities as leaders. Students look to leadership at the university for guidance on a lot of these issues. They look for them to obviously educate them on the issues. They don't look to the university leadership to be basically relying on Hamas, a known, recognized terrorist organization around the world, for their main source of information on, death count or what's happening on the ground. They should be looking to reliable sources for that if they're going to be pursuing various messaging. But at the end of the day, all of a sudden, it's very clear that the university has a double standard. Suddenly, they're pro-free speech. Suddenly, they are viewpoint neutral when it actually is against, Jewish students or conservative viewpoints. It's a completely different scenario. They oftentimes would weaponize policies like bias response teams or harassment policies that would target and punish students for various things like not using someone's preferred pronoun or for saying that a woman or that a transgender woman cannot participate in women's sports. So universities are suddenly now all of a sudden pro-free speech. I don't buy it. I think they have a political agenda here, and they're definitely pushing it on the students.
It also might have something to do with some of these donors pulling back some of the money. Can you imagine any other group being treated like this with the full acceptance of the campus community? You would never see gay students being treated like this or black students being treated like this. I get it, they're quoting out students of Asian descent, but I don't think there would be any, well, maybe conservative students, like you said, but this is something that has been bubbling on college campuses for quite some time, and now it's out front in the open. So just like that, they forgot their statements on hate speech.
Well, look, I mean, hate speech is protected under the First Amendment in this country. And, it's really important to recognize these students on both sides do have the freedom to protest and participate in these protests. However, when it switches over and they become true threats or they start to incite violence, then they are crossing a legal line. And it's up to universities to be doing proper investigations in situations like this where their students feel unsafe. They were perfectly fine and happy to launch investigations against conservative students when they were tabling, when it came to, being pro-conservative or being trying to bring various speakers on campus. They would say that speech is violence and that students can't be exposed to various speakers because it would be harmful to their mental health. What about the mental health of students, Jewish students right now, who are being locked in libraries or, like you said, who are being publicly, and it looks like almost physically assaulted in that situation that you just put a video recording out of, where students are actually being pushed around and silenced by various other protesters that are coming out trying to attack them. So there's a clear double standard here. Again, we need to recognize the legal lines when it comes to protecting free speech on campus, but there's certainly a clear double standard in how universities want to handle this. There's nothing stopping schools from taking a strong position against the terrorist activities of Hamas. But all of a sudden they don't want to.
I'm a free speech advocate, and I agree with you about the whole thing about hate speech, but that was not their position. Okay, that was not their position until now that everything is protected. And they've allowed this sort of infantile rage when you see, someone screaming at someone for handing out pro-life literature, or like you said, tabling for conservative causes, this sort of emotional outburst, flipping a table, chasing people around. That has been tolerated for quite some time. So this evolution of it is not at all surprising. Part of running a college campus is, I thought, making it safe.
Look, this kind of woke dogma, the far left progressive ideology, is the reason why a lot of this is possible. It is a movement that believes the ends justify the means. And so that includes, you have 30% of students right now who recently on a survey said they believe violence is acceptable to stop speech that they don't agree with. So they do believe that violence does justify the ends of what it is, whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. So this is, we're just starting to see the culmination essentially of what this finally looks like on campus. And obviously we're seeing it targeted at a specific group, but they feel this way about other groups they disagree with as well. That's no secret either. So again, I think this is important to recognize. You're right. This movement has existed for a long time on campus, but suddenly they have the backing of various political leaders and various university administrators. So they actually feel even more emboldened and embraced in order to take these actions. And I think the final thought on that is that if we look back, you can see that there was a lot of rumblings when we looked at the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movements against Israel on campus. All of these pro-Palestinian groups were constantly trying to force Jewish groups to essentially not buy kosher food because they wanted the school to boycott any company that did business with Israel. Or, you know, there was movements where, if you look at Harvard's history, even they have a long history of being anti-Semitic when it comes to not allowing Jewish students into their campus. So I think this is, again, this has been around for a long time. We're starting to see the final culmination of it, really.
You know, I'm not a tough guy. So when I say this, I don't know why some of these students run. You know, like, don't run, okay? Don't run. Don't run away. You know, just go, if to the best of your ability, go about your business, because these people are just making themselves look terrible in the eyes of the general public. And like I said, you've got lots of wealthy people who happen to be Jews, the Jewish money, they would say, saying, all right, it's one thing to have left-wing progressive values. It's another thing to support murdering innocent children in Israel. So if that's the game you want to play, you're not getting any money.
I mean, these students fear for their lives genuinely. This is just a fight or fight mentality, and they when they genuinely don't believe that the leadership of the university is going to do anything to help them, their immediate response is to run and to hide in libraries or to lock themselves down. I think it's important to recognize that this isn't a new sensation on college campuses. We had a student that worked for us at Speech First who was punched in the face by a fellow student when he was wearing a MAGA hat, and even though he was punched in the face, you know, by an African American woman, so he was convinced that the university would actually do nothing and in fact probably blame him. So he actually, and this is at the University of Colorado, he actually didn't even report it because he genuinely believed that the university would do nothing and that he might actually get in trouble. So this is a sentiment that's existed. I know it's hard to see Jewish students not stand up against a lot of these protesters who are coming after them physically, but I can only imagine how terrifying it must be when you don't think anyone's going to be there to help you.